If you realize, yeah, Damon, this partnership's a wrap. Either it's mission accomplished, or you realize that your mission with your partners is different and it doesn't make any sense anymore. How do I end it gracefully? I think it comes to two direct things. Really simple, I believe. The first thing is to have honest communication. Again, conflicts, crucial conversations. Conflict is actually a rap group. I'm stuck on the 90s rap right now. Shout out to them. If you know who they are, you know who they are. All right, so Crucial Conversations, the book I recommended earlier in the episode, highly recommend that one. You have to have an honest conversation because you're not going to know if your missions are different unless you're regularly communicating. With the co-founders with Cuddler, the last business that we end up getting acquired, me and particularly the one of the other co-founders, Charlie, we would have a meeting almost every single day, every single work day. And I had a baby at home. A baby was about to turn into a toddler. He was going on 1 when we started Cuddler. Yeah, we had to communicate that often. Still had conflicts, still had challenges for sure. And I think Charlie would agree. But how many more issues if we didn't communicate regularly every day? And being honest about that. When I knew instinctively it was time to wrap up Cuddler and for us to sell it or to do whatever we were going to do, I was honest. I was like, yeah, I think we're done. And they were like, yeah, you're right. We are done. I was thinking the same thing. It's like, great. We're all on the same page. But imagine if I didn't have the bravery to say that. So number one, honest communication. You might assume that saying, yeah, this partnership should end or we should wrap this up. I'd assume that's going to hurt someone else's feelings or this company might not want to work with you again and you're burning a bridge and all that. But frankly, you don't know. And if that's your biggest concern is as far as the longevity of the relationship, then it has to be based on communication anyway. So if you're going to be working with or want to stay in good standing with, say, a multi-billion-dollar corporation that you have with, which I'm in that situation where it's like, how do I approach this with them? But I knew, and that I'm thinking of one case in particular, I knew that I need to have an honest conversation with them, a conflict, to actually keep a healthy relationship. And come to find out that project we were working on, it wasn't going in a direction it was supposed to be going. They probably appreciated that I brought it up. And then I'm working with them more later. And I got more money from my business and they were able to work with me some more. And they got the content or what have you that they needed. We're all cool. But if it wasn't for that moment of saying, yeah, this isn't it, and being honest about that, then, we're just playing a game. They might be feeling the same way. So sometimes when you have that honest communication, that's also a signal with the business partnerships you have. That's actually a signal of leadership because you're willing to say the things that needs to be said, not because you're mean or because you're a guy that always tells it how it is, not because of that, but because you have that business partnership enough to be honest with the other people involved. That's a level of respect that we don't always have for each other. So number one, if you want to end things gracefully, or at least consider ending things gracefully, you got to start with the honest communication. And I found I tend to be relatively direct. And I found when I am honest, whether it's a personal thing or a business thing, whatever, even with family, I can sometimes see that like the other person or whoever I'm interacting with, their shoulders go down. And sometimes they'll audibly sigh and be like, wow, yeah, I'm glad you said that because I'm feeling the same way about that. But somebody has to say it. If you're going to be that side hustle, that solopreneur, if you're going to be a non-traditional entrepreneur, then this is something that you're going to have to get used to. I've done 27 books. Half of them are co-authorships. That means I'm working with somebody else. That means I'm splitting the royalties, breaking it down in some form with somebody else. That means about half my books are with traditional publishers. So that means I have a commitment with my agent, shout out to Marilyn, as well as to my co-author. And then I have a commitment with the agent and the co-author, and that's with the big publishing house that all of them are in the same zip code in Midtown Manhattan, and most of their office, shout out to them. And so I have a commitment with them, but it's tied to my agent as well as to the co-author. Like, that's a spider web. Not saying it's a bad thing. About 14 of my books are co-authorships. I loved co-authoring. Hope to do it in the future. My point is that to do fully, that's managing what, 3 different relationships? And the combination of all of them? I've been in co-authorships and or worked with agents that weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. But then I still had to show up for the organization, the company, people that we all made the commitment to. I had to carry the load. But those people who were not carrying the load, those organizations that were not carrying the load, absolutely heard from me as far as what that commitment meant and how they weren't carrying their part of it. And the result of it is whatever. But the important thing is that clear communication was there. So as far as ending things gracefully, or at least looking into it, number 1, clear communication. The second part of it is that you assume there are no bad guys. The aforementioned organizations or people, whatever, who frankly dropped the ball. I know they dropped the ball. Sometimes the organization that we were doing the work for didn't even know they dropped the ball. But that's part of partnership. That's part of commitment. You figure out how to follow through, even if the people that you're working with aren't able to follow through or aren't able to get it together. There were definitely feelings there, particularly on my end, in some cases in their end. But from my standpoint, there were no bad guys. There might have been bad results as far as our partnership. One of the reasons why, in some of these cases, I was like, yeah, that's the end of our partnership. But it doesn't mean that they had ill intention. There might have been something personal going on with them. They might have underestimated how much they could commit. Maybe they're not good, as I talked about at the top of the episode. Maybe they're not that good. They're not good at following through. I mean, that's the case sometimes. Maybe that's not a strength of theirs. Maybe, I know in one case, they had never been for a business partnership, so they didn't get it. Maybe they were used to backing off of commitments and being like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. But that's not how I conduct my relationships, business or otherwise. So there's a conflict where it's like, oh, this is how you handle things. Not judging how you handle things, but if that's how you handle things, we shouldn't be partners because that's not how I handle things. And then we're going to have a crucial conversation and maybe a crucial conflict. No wonder I got the two mixed up, right? So if you're looking to wrap up things gracefully, or at least consider them, number 1, you got to have honest conversations. Number 2, realize that often there aren't any bad guys. It's really not. It's just people's different approaches of doing things. Does that mean you have to part with them again? Or the whole point of this episode, does that mean you need to stay in partnership with them? Hell no. Don't. If they don't fit your principles /ethics /execution, then no, don't rock with them. That's fine. That's what this is about. Heck, that's what personal relationships are about. There's people that I absolutely care about that are not in my life anymore. Because the way they do things, I'm like, you're not taking me to an early grave. I got beautiful kids to take care of. You're stressing me out. I love you dearly. I can't do it. Nope. You need to hang out with people, friendship or otherwise, who have your standard. We're not on the same standard. I can't rock with you. The more honest you can be about that, not mean, but direct as far as having opinions, I think the better off everyone involved will be. Because at least they'll know where you stand. And when you share where you stand, I found almost like a mirror, other people, other organizations even. You can look at my LinkedIn, you can read my books. I've worked with a lot of types of organizations, coached hundreds of people. Doesn't matter how big the organization, whether it's a billion, I think one case, $1 trillion corporation. Yeah, it might have been a couple trillion in there. $1 trillion corporation or, you know, another entrepreneur. At the end of the day, there's going to be a level of respect. They might not like it, but level of respect when you're able to be honest with them and have that crucial conversation. The second part is that there are no bad guys. Everyone has their own MO. Sometimes people or organizations don't really know their MO until they're already in the partnership. And that sometimes is enough reason to dissolve the partnership itself. If you want to go deep into it, my favorite book on the topic, excuse me, 4 Agreements. A personal book, slightly spiritual, but not super spiritual, but definitely has that, the universe has a way kind of energy. And it's 4 really simple agreements. They got them right here. You can put them on a freaking postcard or index card, if you know my style. Number 1, be impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't take anything personally. Ding, ding, ding. Number 3, don't make assumptions. Number 4 is do your best. That's it. And then it goes deeper into that. You see, I got dog ears on here. There's also another book called The Fifth Agreement, which I have not read yet, but I heard that's decent. But those 4 agreements, particularly the one that jumps out at me, is don't take anything personal. So, of course, if it's personal, personal partnership, and I've worked with family members, with spouses, with, my best friend and I had worked together. That happens sometimes. I'm surrounded by really creative and interesting people. It's naturally going to happen. It's like, let's do it together. Even in those cases, when the business side doesn't work out, it just is. And so if you're going to be having these collaborations with friends, or with loved ones, with family, then you're going to have to work on having these difficult conversations. You're going to have to work on recognizing there is no bad guy, just a perspective. And lastly, as talked about in the 4 agreements, recognizing that you can't really take it personally. Now, if they hurt your feelings, that's a separate subject. I get that. I'm a sensitive guy. I get that part. But the business side, everybody has a different opinion on that. There's not much you can do about that, unless you want to argue with them until their face is blue, but they probably believe that they're right. So speaking of, another recommendation, you'll see at the link below, also in the chat over here, is awkward conversations. And it talks about that. It mentions the 4 agreements, as well as other ways that we can have these tough conversations. Again, you're seeing the pattern here. Communication is such a big deal when it comes to ending partnerships gracefully. Be sure and check out the episode. I want to say it's from like 2 years ago, but it holds up really well. And I think if you're struggling with that and not sure how to start that conversation,